Okay, back at it. Starting off. This is not my primary job right now. I'm basically starting to buff down one of these doors, sand it down first with the 1500 on a block here. Taking forever, and then I'll take it down with 2000, 3000, and then buff like I did the rest of the car. Tedious stuff, but this is the main focus of my activities right now. What I was gonna do, the original plan was, work on the dashboard, work on the wiring in between, things drying and Bondo drying, and go back and work on the wiring. Well, the wiring, I just got carried away and just kept going till I had a stop point with the wiring. I've got to stop because, well, I've gone as far as I can, basically. So I had to start working on this to get this ready to go in. So now I'm focused on this. Fortunately, it's a situation also where this has to dry before I can do the next step, and the next step, and the next step. Right now I'm body working it. It's coming out pretty good. You can feel some imperfections. I got a little ridge here I got to fill in. Anyway, the good thing about this is it really doesn't have to be that smooth, because I want a little bit of a texture to simulate the vinyl a little bit. So that's what I'm up to right now. It just goes to show that scientists are right. They say that multitasking is impossible because the brain can only focus on one task at a time. So if you're doing two things at once, you're doing both of them very badly. And I can attest to that because you keep having to shift your focus. I'm going from this to that to this to that, and I don't like it. I'd rather stay on task, do this to completion, and go do that. But unfortunately, this kind of a project here, where you have to wait for the body filler to set up, and then you have to sand it, and then reapply, and then, well, you've got wait time, and I don't feel like spending it. It's just sitting on my butt. So it is unfortunate, but that's part of it. So the buffing goes on, and the recovery of the dashboard continues. Okay, some progress in another area. When you get a roller and it's missing stuff, and you're not familiar with the car, it's kind of hard to know what you're missing. I mean, you're just guessing. Go online, take a look at things, see what you can see, but it's hard to know, what's missing. And I was looking for, there's a piece on the Camino, the airbox, that hooks into here. It also retains the radiator right in this area here, and it's a whole assembly. There's a bottom part, there's a tray for the air cleaner, there's a top piece, and a whole mess of things going on here. Well, I went on to eBay, and of course they're selling it one little piece at a time, and most of the stuff is plastic, so it's all shattered. So you've basically got one of those things where people are looking for this, they're looking for that little piece, whatever. Problem with me is I don't know what pieces even went to it. How many pieces was it made of? Because it's not clear from the photographs, and any blow-up diagrams I came across were not very clear. So fortunately, local to me was a guy selling an entire assembly. His brother had bought a car, and it had a aftermarket air cleaner set up on it, one of those conical types, and he had pretty much the whole thing, except for there's a little tray that holds this piece here. It's a little plastic tray that goes down in there. But some of these little bits, the hose that connects it, this piece over here, I'm not sure this is part of the system. It looks like something that I don't have. This might be part of the cooling system, but who knows? I'll figure that out later. But this main piece here is the lower piece this goes on here like this, and then that plugs into there. It actually plugs into this piece here, and you get the picture. It's a whole mess of stuff here. Bottom line is I got it for $100. This piece alone right here was like $140 plus shipping on eBay. So I think I made out pretty well getting all the rest of the stuff. Oddly enough, this little tray here that holds this, it's small plastic frame that goes around this filter. He told me he sold it for $50. The guy didn't want none of the rest of this. He just wanted that little plastic frame, and that's, I guess, that's typical of people looking for parts for these cars. At any rate, I got lucky, and he had that one item for sale that I needed. The other bit of progress is I got my stitches out today. He said I was ready to put my feet back in the shoes whenever I felt like it. Well, I tried today, and I really didn't feel like it because I felt like my foot was confined and it was on fire. So back in the boot for a little while. I'll ease my way back in the shoes as I go along here. But it's not slowing me down too much because a lot of these jobs are sit-down jobs. Sit on a stool and keep making progress. Anyway, I thought I'd bring you up to speed on those two insignificant items. All right, so what we got here is it's been coated with the 2K pliant primer that's had a black tint to it, that U-Pole high build 2K primer, and it's all been sanded off down to 220, which is fine. It's enough because I'm going to add texture to the top of this, and so far everything looks good, like it's blended out. It looks like one piece. It doesn't look like that is a patch, which was my problem with it. You know, I was wondering whether that's what it was going to look like, and so I'm going to try and add some texture to the top. It's not going to be 100% looking like the vinyl itself, but oh well. I mean, that's the way it goes. But we'll see what happens. All right, so that's the driver's side door done. Still got lots to go, but taking a break from the buffing to get over on my main task over here, and that's to get this wiring harness. It's half in the car and half in here on my little device to feed it into the car. This uses my engine hoist. Anyway, just finishing up putting the airbag back, looking at a bunch of photos, see where everything dangles and where everything's got to be floated through, and hopefully I can decipher where these things mount. There's clips and stuff. I thought I had pictures of where this one mounted. I don't. I see some clips over here, some things that have corresponding clips. Let's see if I can unweave all that. I've got the main trunk line in there, which that was a little bit of a hassle getting that all, because it's like twisting the stick. Anyway, especially over here, this is a real knot. But at any rate, back up a little bit, show you what's going on here on the back side. It's multi-layered. In other words, once this is in, then I've got to put the plastic ductwork back, and there's things that mount on wiring that mounts on the back side of that, pockets for modules and stuff like that. And then after the ductwork is on, then the heating and air conditioning stuff mounts to the back side of this. So this thing weighs a ton when it's done. Anyway, not the greatest engineering feat, I'm going to say. Just going out on a limb. I've seen a whole lot easier stuff to take apart and service. This is not cool at all, but it is what it is. I'm sure there's more than a few Camaro owners out there that have had to deal with this. But my sympathies go out to you. Well, near as I can determine from my pictures that I took of this whole operation here, this is pretty much where it's supposed to, everything's supposed to lay out. It's not quite as confusing as it first looked. So then there's one main trunk line coming across here and then down onto that side. Then this is all the radio stuff, the heater controls. Then I had a bunch of stuff to fit up in here, some relays, some wiring for the glove box. Of course, I had to put the airbag back in. I was hunting around over here, make sure that there was an airbag. Here's the plug for the airbag on this portion of the harness, so that'll probably get plugged in somehow. I'll keep an eye on that, make sure it doesn't get pinched in someplace where I can't unpinch it. That's my biggest fear, is getting this stuff routed in the wrong spot, and then it being there not being enough wire and having to pull the whole mess out just to unhook it all again and reroute it again. But we're going to proceed with it the way it is right now, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so we got the ductwork back in, plastic ductwork. That was a bear, mainly because of the routing of this wiring right here. You have to get this wiring pulled down, and it's tough because it's a big knot. Pulled down low enough so that this can push in. There's no room here, and you got to get this big knot of wires pushed way back in there because it comes down and comes through this little space here, and then it goes along the bottom here. But you got to get that all tucked in. You know, I find it a little bit incredible that they don't have any kind of a sheath over this, but I understand because there's no room for one. You've got metal here, you know, right against where this fishes through. But that's where all the indicators are that this is where this is routed from all the pictures I took beforehand. And so anyway, that's a real tight spot there, and I was fighting that for a while to get this ductwork back in, but everything's starting to line up. I've got the airbag plugged back in. I've got this body control module here back in this little container, which was really weird because this is just snap into place. It's just two plastic tabs and a little couple ledges right here, but there's a little plastic piece that kind of bulges down here, and for the life of me, I put that thing up in there 10 times figuring, well, it's going to snap in sooner or later, but it just wouldn't get up on these little shelves. I ended up taking a sander and taking about 1/8 of an inch off of that little tab. You can still see it's little rows up like that. So I went and looked at the harness that came out of the car, see if it was a different module, maybe it had a notch in it to allow for that little plastic piece there. Nah, it's exactly the same. So it beats the heck out of me. So I took clearanced it a little bit, and then it shoved up just enough to where it came to rest on top of these little shelf tabs, and then it popped right in. But weird, very weird. Anyway, probably not the only weird thing I'm going to come across when I get dealing with the rest of this. But anyway, there you have it. All right, in the department of might as well do it while I'm here. Obviously, this is a job that requires you to take the dashboard out. So I'm glad I'm doing this now, because this whole top of this case, half of it's in the engine bay, and the other half of this is inside the car, which is kind of ridiculous. But hey, that's the way it is, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so took the fan out. Got to clean up the fan, test it. I'm going to take this out. Might leave the leaves, though. They look good in there. I'm going to take the heater core out also, and change those items out before I put it back together. Just basically clean up the housing before I put it on the back side of the dashboard. Anyway, interesting to see how this stuff comes apart, and what kind of a nightmare it'll be to change it if these components should go bad in the future. Good times. Well, I got to say I'm having a little bit too much fun repopulating this interior, so I got to stop, because I got to get back to buffing, as much as I hate to do it. But each day that goes by, that clear gets a little bit harder and a little bit harder to sand, so I got to get back on that. Just looking at this shifter, I've got to obviously put a block-out plate. Must be a different floor pan in an automatic car. So I got that big old shifter hole there that I got to, because I put this in. I said, well, where does this bolt down to? Well, it bolts down to probably the floor in an automatic car. Anyway, so yeah, it's looking a little bit more like a car, which is making me happy, but there's no time for happiness around here. I got to get back to work, so got to pull another door in the other room and start sanding and buffing. Okay, that's door number 2. I always wheel it out here in this shop, and no matter how, I have a lot of light in there, but no matter how I look at it in there, things just show up out in this lighting out here. Just a little bit different, and so it's a little bit hazy in the front area here, so I'll probably have to wheel it back in there, but I've been scrubbing on it for about 3 hours, and I'm about ready to stop. You can see there's a little haze right in this area right here, but I had to haul that one back in already once. So anyway, that's the nature of the beast, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. I've been just kind of toying around with some of these little accessories. Maybe I'll do the tailgate next, because there's a lot of little stuff I can do with that. Anyway, we'll see. All right, so
Just like little details, working on some stuff here in between. Give me a little relief, give my arm a little relief from sanding on these panels. I wheeled the tailgate in, start sanding and buffing on that, but I didn't want to jump right into it. So anyway, I left this, painted the color of the car. It's got clear on it, so there'll be a nice slick surface for the glue to adhere to when I mount the windshield. But I went ahead and I textured this part of the panel here. That most of this will be hidden under this intervening panel, but I just decided to go ahead and paint that the same color as the dashboard here. And then I did a matte black on this subcowl here. And I'm continuing to figure out, where things go here and populating the interior as I get pieces, and I'm refurbishing them as I go, spray painting and stuff like that. Just nothing major, just little knickknacks in preparation for, the big stuff. But anyway, I forgot to mention about this this air box that I went ahead and I got a PDF of a manual for a 99 Camaro, and it's so I decided to look and see how they recommend the removal of the components that are in there, based on how it seemed very easy to do it out of the car, but I thought it would be a struggle getting them out with the dashboard installed. And it was pretty interesting because I got to the page where they were going to tell you how to get the those heater components and exchangers out from underneath the dashboard. And in the manual, they're describing the process, and I would love to have been able to take a look at the process, but they included illustrations that had nothing to do with actually what panels come out where and how you get those things out. So it was really interesting to see that there is a process, and I read it over a couple of times, and it's without having a drawing to accompany it, but it was like step 1 and it shows the area, and then step 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 all the way up to step 9 of taking it all out and what had to go where. It's all illustrations came from a completely other part of the manual, and that's the original manual. It's the original 99 manual, which is it's like 2,000 pages long, and on the PDF, the way somebody digitized it, it's almost completely unsearchable. You can't refer to the table of contents and then click on a page based that way. It's a very rudimentary search based on what the people who downloaded it did, and it's very confusing. You just got to go through it pretty much page by page and get a general idea of where everything is in the manual if you want to work with it. Thought you might find that interesting. I found it interesting because I said, wow, I got the manual now. I can see exactly how it's recommended to take that stuff out. And they do recommend taking that stuff out from inside the car. And there's a pretty good description, but tab A and panel B, they were not illustrated. It was something completely different. Anyway, I thought that was a little bit amusing. Onward, as they say. Well, so far so good. Finding where everything plugs in. There's still a few random plugs over here on the console area. I'm not really sure where the heck they go to because I've took a look at the things that need plugging in on the console, and there's a couple extra over there. I don't know what they're for. Everything's plugged in on the heater controls, the radio, and there's a little road light switch up there. It's about all that's up there. Most of the wires dangling down here right now are for the steering column. Anyway, just inchworming my way through this whole mess. We'll get there. I'll mess with anything just to keep from buffing and sanding. So decided to sort out a whole bunch of miscellaneous little tiny hardware and baloney and get all this cleaned up, repainted, and put back in. Goofy little clips like this holds the windshield wiper tubes, the windshield wiper sprayers. Down there I've got the grill in over the air intake. It's just a lot of little nonsense, a lot of little parts, which they
they look mysterious when you're just staring at them and wondering where they went. But luckily I still have that Buick out there to guide me, otherwise I wouldn't know where half this stuff went. These two brackets here, I had a heck of a time figuring that out, and I went outside and solved the problem. Anyway, yeah, so been up to little stuff like that, cleaning up stuff like this, using some wheel cleaner. Turns out it's just diluted phosphoric acid. And just brushed it on, cleaned this up, got all the grime off of it, cleaned it off with water then to neutralize the acid, because that's what it is. It's advertised as wheel cleaner. Luma Bright it's called. It's basically phosphoric acid. Anyway, so clean that up. I ordered a whole new set of O-rings and everything, and washers for putting this whole mess back together. I don't want to risk using any of this old stuff. It's kind of pointless. That's what I'm up to. Just checking this out, seeing what's going on with this. I'm going to hybrid it with this cable, which is out of the Camino. Pop this thing in here. I think this is a throttle position sensor, something like that. That bolted underneath over here. Cleaned up the freaking horns. Got them back in there. Cleaned up the harness for the horns. Just a lot of little stuff. Basically, trying to consolidate and eliminate a lot of this stuff I'm tripping over all over the place. But I got most of the stuff on this pallet broke down. The only thing that I have left off the pallet that I need to sort is I need to pull this harness out of here and put that in the front of the car and get the steering column over here. But a lot of little junk sitting on the shelves in the way that I don't need. Stuff from the El Camino, stuff from the Camaro, you know, just little junk. So the less I have to look with my eyes at. Anyway, that's where we're at. By the way, early on when I was going on and on about this air conditioning box, the HVAC system, it does not bolt to the back side of the dashboard. I kept saying that, but it doesn't. It bolts to the firewall before you put the dash in. So the only thing that bolts to the dash is the ductwork and the wiring, but it was still pretty heavy. Just thought I'd throw that in there because it kept talking about how, you know, this box and all the air conditioning needed to bolt on the back side. Anyway, just thought I'd make a little correction there. All right. Well, I was going to finish up this week just by bolting the column in and plugging everything in. As you can see, I've got everything neatly marked for the, you know, where everything has to go back. Unfortunately, I'm realizing that a lot of the column plug-ins have to do with this harness that fishes. There's about a half a dozen wires that fish through this one little port here, but then it's the rest of the harness. So it's a big job cleaning all of that wiring up and basically disconnecting it from this tangled spaghetti. And it's late in the week, and I am about not ready to untangle all of this, just so I can get a couple of wires, which are basically right in here. As you can see, they're marked column, solid column 3. There's a couple others in there that have to go to the steering column. Like I said, instead of having a nice disconnect right here, they have to fish these wires through continuously, and then it's all hooked to this. So, good times. Anyways, that's it for me for this week, and I appreciate everybody that's been watching and following along. And the foot's in a boot now, and I'm walking somewhat regular. It doesn't feel normal. I don't suppose it ever will. They cut a nerve out of my foot, so there's going to be some dead space in there somewhere along the line. I don't know just how much. Right now, the bottom of the foot's a little numb, but at least I'm able to get around a little bit, which is good, and I'm pretty happy about that. And so that'll be for this week's video, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks.